meat and curry, I'm your man. Cause how we all lose it is a mystery. It's like the changing of our wardrobes from a dire history. But it's the one making us not stop. 50 kilograms is all we've got to drop. La 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 la, la 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 la.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 50 kg drop. We've got our usual co-stars of Jonty, the online Instagram sensation from episode 1, Craven and Big Bob Cooper, and Alex Big P.
Big P Plamadeala, yeah.
Big P Plamadeala. So, a bit of context for the listeners. Alex came across me on LinkedIn, I believe, and has a business that is focused on helping the working man stay in shape. And as that is a common excuse for me, Bob and Jonty, we thought he would be a prime guest to come on and give us some advice. So, Alex, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Going to pick your brains, Alex.
Absolutely.
Give you a background to us. Bob is now 169 kilograms, which is great. I'm 163 kilograms, which is also great. And Jonty is skinny. He's 122. But he's just come back from Ibiza, and I think he's up to 125. So we started this pod because we were part of what we called the Belly Boys at work, where we're all giving ourselves weekly targets and tasks to do to lose some weight. And actually, we became a bit of a support group to laugh about the blowouts we were having. And it didn't really work. We got bigger. So we thought total accountability. Let's start a pod, talk about it each week. And after season 1, me and Bob have both successfully gained weight, and we decided to bring Jonty in just for like banter value, really.
Yeah, deadly.
So we're desperate for some help. How can you help us?
Well, listen, the first thing that I'd say is fabulous idea getting together. From the research, social support is a big contributing factor to long-term weight maintenance. And I also think the idea of doing it as a pod and documenting the journey and getting people on to kind of give you advice, some expert feedback, a fantastic idea. Now, in terms of help, where do you want to kind of start this off? I'm happy to take the lead on that. Or is there anything in any area in particular where you'd like to start?
Should we, for the listeners' sake, do a bit of intro into you, like what's your background, that sort of stuff, and then we can unlayer some onions. These Bob Cooper or Jonty Craven there. Well,
so I had been into fitness for the better part of a decade. I started martial arts from a pretty young age, taekwondo and kickboxing, kind of got started in the gym as a teen and really just got obsessed with everything training and nutrition related. Really specifically, I got into it when my dad actually brought me to the gym for the first time when I was about 13 or 14. And the goal was to kind of get a little bit fitter for fighting and also cut weight for competitions, which was something that I was doing more and more in taekwondo and kickboxing. And naturally, about 10 years ago, we've got so much information available online on health and fitness nowadays. Really wasn't like that 10 years ago. There was no such thing as influencers. There was like a handful of people posting on YouTube, and most of the information that you kind of got in terms of health and fitness and specifically nutrition was like these old school bodybuilding forums, like bodybuilding.com. That was the big popular one back then. And so me, 13, 14-year-old Alex would kind of like, okay, I need to cut some weight from this for this competition. What am I going to do? So I'd go online, I'd find all these diets, I'd find all these meal plans, clean eating, low carb, et cetera, and not knowing any better, I'd jump onto them, and I would, in 2-3 weeks, as the story goes, you drop, 5-6 kilos on these crash diets, and then I go off to the competition, and then afterwards binge my brains out, gain the weight back. And then what started to happen is, after I went through a couple of these cycles of cutting weight for competitions, binging my brains out, gaining it back, what I started to notice was I was actually gaining back more weight every single time. And it got to a really bad stage at one point where I was actually 10 kilos heavier than I had originally started. Now, 10 kilos doesn't sound like a lot, but you need to keep in mind I was about 14 at the time. So I had started off at about 50 kilos and I was maybe up at around 60 kilos or something like that. And I had developed basically from the restrictive dieting a full-blown binge eating disorder, right? So I'd gotten to a stage where from this repeated restrictive dieting, crash dieting for competitions, I'd essentially gave myself a binge eating disorder. Now I self-diagnosed at the time. I'd never like seen any professional in that sense, but it was definitely like full-blown binge eating disorder. And for people that don't know, binge eating disorder is usually characterized as a loss of control around food. You know, basically one specific characteristic of it is eating past the point of physical discomfort. And that's something that I can definitely relate to. Some of the binge eating episodes get super, super bad where you're like literally your stomach is just literally about to explode and you're still just scoffing down another cookie, another biscuit, another and I see you guys laughing. Am I
It's just how
on something there?
You're making Johnny really uncomfortable.
No, like I've had exactly the same experience. Yeah, like you full 20 minutes later, you get a little bit of room, so you cram something in again, and then you're full again.
Yeah, 100%. And
listen, you feel sick, and you gotta lie down.
Yeah, and then I can get into that a little bit more in just a second. But what binge eating does, it creates this, we call it the binge guilt restrict cycle. So you binge, you feel guilty after it, you restrict even more, which makes you binge more, and then you feel guiltier, and then it's just this kind of vicious cycle, right? And I can get to that in just a second. Now, fortunately, specifically at the time, I had a big competition coming up in Slovenia, like the European Championships or something like that. And I had to be a certain weight for that, right? And at this point, I was like 10 kilos overweight. And I was like, I've got this problem. Like, I can't stop binge eating. Like, this is a serious problem. Me, 14-year-old Alex, recognized that. And I was like, okay, I need to do something about this, because not only is it a problem, but I'm going to go away to this competition and I'm not going to be able to make weight. And I'm going to spend all this money, all this hours of training. Fortunately, by a miracle or a godsend, I came across this YouTuber, one of the very few YouTubers back then that was online, by the name of Matt Ogus. So he was a bodybuilder, and he was talking about this approach to weight loss where you could basically, the idea was you could eat whatever you wanted so long as you ate the right number of calories. Now, that to a modern audience, I mean, everybody knows that nowadays, but 10 years ago, that was a mind-blowing revelation, because everybody was on, keto, low carb, clean eating, etc. If you ate, you could only eat chicken, brown rice, and broccoli, or you were just going to explode, right? And so I was kind of skeptical at first, but, I gave it a shot. I started, tracking my calories, weighing out my portion sizes. And what I found was I was able to, all the foods that I was kind of excluding from my diet, bread, cereal, carbs specifically, I could now eat. And I actually found it easier to lose weight because I wasn't binging every single weekend and just putting the weight back on that I was losing from the restriction. And it worked. And so I dropped the weight for the competition. I did fairly well. I ended up, I think, getting a bronze medal or something like that. The Europeans I don't even know when it was. I think it was like 2012 or something like that. And that was really a big turning point in my fitness journey, specifically from nutrition. And then since then, you kind of fast forward, for the better part of a decade, I really just learned how to basically stay in shape, stay lean year round, without really having to stress too much about food, because I developed the right nutritional skills that allowed me to stay lean and to enjoy my food and to not have to overly restrict myself. And to close the loop on the binge eating specifically, a big driver of binge eating, there's a number of reasons for it. There's some emotional reasons, psychological reasons, etc. But a big driver behind binge eating is intense dietary restriction. So when you tell yourself, I'm not going to eat this food or these foods, it usually sets you up to binge on them later on. And so once I stopped having this kind of restrictive mindset towards food, I noticed that my binge eating, it didn't just go away overnight, but gradually over time, it became less and less up until it had essentially completely disappeared. And so that was the early days of my experience with nutrition. And then I was, mad into powerlifting for a number of years, did loads of bodybuilding, even some Olympic weightlifting. Like I said, martial arts. Sorry, there's an important actually aspect to this as well. I actually did, I posted videos I had a YouTube channel as well for a number of years. I started doing the whole like influencer thing around 2015. no, not 2015, maybe even earlier, like 2014, before, you know, being an influencer was really a thing, posting videos about fitness on YouTube, on Instagram, that kind of stuff. And then it all kind of culminated to doing this internship at Microsoft, where now I was a busy professional myself. I was, you know, doing the 1 hour commute in and out of work every day, an hour and a half, really. I was working the 40 hours a week. And not only had I kind of started to struggle a little bit with, you know, staying consistent with training, staying consistent with nutrition, just fucking being bollocksed all the time and just not wanting to do anything, right? But I also noticed that, you know, my managers and the seniors that I was working with, super successful people, like very, very diligent, very, very hardworking, very motivated and driven individuals in a professional sense. But when you looked at their health, they were really struggling. And that kind of baffled me, you know, people who are extremely successful in one aspect, but then when it came to their health, it was a different story. And what I realized was the mainstream health and fitness information that was available, the stuff that I kind of grew up on and was in love with for the better part of a decade, it didn't apply. It didn't cater to the busy professional. And that was ultimately the inception of FitBiz Pro and what we do today, which is helping busy professionals, specifically men, look and feel their best, but without the typical strict diets, hours at the gym, and sacrificing your social life and just being a miserable bastard. So that kind of takes us up to how we got started and what we currently do. So if you have anywhere you want to go from there.
So I think we all reacted to the binge part, right? What's the remedy for that? Because at the moment, I'm loving binging.
Yeah.
It needs to stop.
Yeah. I think the first aspect to actually acknowledge is that you love it. You know, binging on food is actually fun. There's actually a fun and enjoyable aspect to it that we actually should acknowledge starting out. And specifically, there's a reason why we're doing it. And when we can kind of tease apart the reason for it, then we can start to play around with, you know, tools and practices that we can use to start to work through the binge eating or the emotional eating. If you don't mind me kind of throwing the questions back to you and just kind of putting the spotlight on, normally with any type of binge eating or emotional eating or just kind of overeating in general, there's normally triggers, right? Overeating is usually triggered by something, either emotions, either by the environment. So emotions, you know, stress, tiredness, boredom, just wanting to eat for comfort or pleasure. Emotional eating can also be triggered by the environment. You know, if there's food there, if you open up your press and there's like biscuits and chocolates and that kind of stuff, I mean, you're probably going to eat it. You know, you can try resist the temptation, but it's hard. We're only human. We're going to give into it, right? Social situations, big driver of overeating. You know, everybody has the bad influence in the group who's like, oh, go on, let's go to the pub, let's grab some food, let's grab some pints. Especially, I feel like within your industry with recruitment, there's a big social aspect. Same as with like, I have a friend that works in IT sales. Big culture around drinking and partying and doing other stuff. But we'll save that for a different conversation. So the first step in working through let's just call it overeating, just to put the term on it. The first step is to recognize the triggers. So if you were to look at your own, maybe start with Ian and then work through what would be the most common triggers for you guys, particular emotions, environments, social situations.
Yeah, I think my diary's that busy that when I get a window, I'm going to use that window to eat. And then I'll grab whatever I can get my hands on and stick as much in as possible. If the window becomes slightly bigger, then I'm like, well, let's just keep going because I might not have another window. It's all linked with stress. If I have if something pisses me off, then I usually go, well, fuck this, I'm eating. And all of the rules I'm putting up are then gone. It's mainly stress. It's mainly stress that triggers off me being a fat pig.
I would say when I've had a big weekend on the booze, I'm like, got a long week ahead of me. I'm not going to enjoy myself until back on the booze. How can I enjoy myself? I'm going to eat until I can't eat anymore.
You're a bit of a visual guy as well, though. If there's like stuff in the office, you're eyeballing it. You want it.
Yeah, but it's more like, when Monday evening, I've spent the whole day on Monday looking forward to stuff in my face. It's the only thing getting me through the day.
And what is it that's happening on a Monday, like work wise, that you're kind of like, oh, I'm just trying to get through this day? Is it a similar story to E, and it's just kind of
No.
super busy, super stressful?
No, it's just the alcohol is still the
hangover,
more than on the Tuesday.
Yeah, so there's
less more tired.
So actually, two interesting things. So alcohol and hangovers do actually has been shown to increase hunger and cravings, and also lack of sleep also does the same. So that kind of coincides. And then also when you feel shit, you also kind of you just want to feel better, and food makes you feel better.
Comfort eating.
Yeah, exactly. And then what about yourself, Rob?
Like stress and tiredness, I think for me would be two. But I think they both link a lot for me with convenience. Like Ian said about having the gap. I'm on the move, I travel a lot. My commute to work is like 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So if I'm leaving the office at 6:30 and I'm not going to get home till 9:30, then I'll probably find something I can put in my mouth at the train station. Or
I can eat a lot on trains as well.
Convenience. Like if you going to Liverpool Street Station is just.
You inspired my brother to go and find the Coco de Mama at Liverpool Street Station. He didn't know it was there for the last pod.
What is it?
He texts me going, "Your pod's just making me eat more." He was like, it's taken me 2 days to find this fucking Coco de Mama.
Is that like a fast food place, or is it
it's a fast food pasta place? I think is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
They do a great sausage spaghetti in the morning though.
They do. I hope Greg enjoyed it. Yeah, like convenient, stress, tiredness. I'd say would be mine. Convenience is a big thing for me. Like I go for the quickest and easiest thing, which usually is unhealthy.
Okay, so what I'm hearing a lot is there's the busyness component, which kind of splits off into two sort of problems. Eating food out of convenience and convenient food options tend to be the higher calorie stuff, right? And then on the other hand, we also have just the busyness and the stress, feeling tired, and that kind of emotional state tends to drive you to want to eat. And then those options tend to be higher calories. So there's the two components. So the way that I would approach this, and the way that I approach it with clients, is firstly to say this: there's nothing wrong with eating food to feel good. It's a totally natural and normal human behavior, and it's a pretty simple equation. When we feel bad, eating food feels good, so we eat food to feel good, right? So it's a super simple equation. It only becomes a problem when food becomes the go-to in times of like stress or tiredness, the primary emotional coping mechanism, to use a technical term as such. And specifically when it leads to weight gain or challenges with managing weight. That's when we can say, okay, now that's a bit of a problem, and we need to start to look at it. And so I'd look at it on two fronts. On the food options front is quite simple. The food options front is like, okay, what convenient foods can we just prepare and bring with us, so that even if we do eat, we're going for foods that are lower in calories, higher in protein, higher in fiber, just healthier overall. And that's pretty simple. That's like you put together a shopping list, you go to the shop, and like that's it. That you tick that off the list. Would you like me to go through a couple of these foods, or are you guys?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. So in terms of, is it more kind of snack stuff that you guys kind of need replacements for, or specific meals?
Pret is the closest retailer, so I will go into Pret. Okay. And I will pick up. There is like healthy stuff in there, but it's also, eating a salad is a faff. Eating a sandwich is pretty quick. Eating a cookie is easy.
So we like
eating a rice cake is not.
We like Sambos though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, Sambos are great. I think Sambos are a great convenience food, and you can definitely fit them into a fat loss diet for sure. No, do you know what? I'll give you three things, right? From a nutrition perspective, when making food choices, specifically with your meals, just three things to really keep in mind. Number one, high in lean protein. Everybody probably knows at this point, but protein is really the food that you want to prioritize when in general, but specifically when trying to lose body fat, for a number of reasons. I can get into them now if you'd like. So high in lean protein, and when I say lean protein, chicken breast, turkey, lean cuts of beef, lean minced beef, egg whites, fat-free Greek yogurt, Whey protein, although that's more of a supplement than a food. Non-fatty fish like cod and haddock and that kind of stuff. Lean protein, essentially. Ham and that kind of stuff is good as well. Deli meat is totally fine in small portions. So lean protein, you want to really, really prioritize that. And the reason for that is protein is a macronutrient that keeps you full. So if you've ever tried to eat a lot of meat in one sitting, you're pretty full right after. And fullness is one thing that you really want to prioritize when you're losing fat, because you're restricting calories. And so protein helps to keep you full even when you're on lower calories. Protein also helps to preserve muscle, build and preserve muscle, which is also really important for maintaining metabolism so that your metabolism doesn't slow down too much as you lose body fat. But yeah, lean protein. And if you're ever kind of wondering how much, I would go for, so you see your palm size. I would go, honestly, for you lads, because you're big lads, I'd go for like at least 2 to 3 pounds of protein at each meal. Yeah. So I would say at least 2, but even 3. Yeah, 2 to 3 lean protein. Yeah.
Definitely 3 for me.
Yeah, and make sure that it's lean. So try it. Really avoid the fatty stuff like fatty cuts of beef, the sausages, rashers, chicken thighs, and that kind of stuff. Has a little bit more fat, extra calories. You can have it here and there, but prioritize the lean stuff. So 2 to 3. So that's number 1, high lean protein. And then number 2, this is a huge one for keeping the calories low. Like, avoid high fat. And what do I mean by this? Or reduce fats. Let's just call it low fat. Specifically, oils, butter, cream, sauces, spreads, dairy, cheese. Always go for the lowest fat option that you can. And the reason for that is fat is calorically dense. So protein and carbs, 4 calories per gram. Fat, 9 calories per gram. So it's super easy to get loads and loads and loads of calories just from having, high fat content in your meals. So really prioritize lower fat stuff when you're both eating at home and when you're eating out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So so far it's high protein, high lean protein. Again, lean because you don't want a lot of fat. Go for the lower fat options. Avoid oils, butters, the high fat sauces, spreads, creams, etc. Always go for the low fat products or fat free whenever you can. And then number 3, just load up on vegetables. Just load up on as many vegetables as you can, as many vegetables as possible. Veggies are really your best friend when it comes to fat loss. Some people, though, I've worked with clients, and I do work with clients that aren't such a fan of veggies. So where do you lads stand on the vegetables?
I personally like veg.
Yeah.
Is there certain veggies that aren't good? I've got a dodgy liver, and they were telling me to stay away of like carrots because of sugar content and stuff like this.
It depends. When you say dodgy liver, what do you mean?
Got a fatty liver and
fatty liver.
Yeah, there's a problem with
Snap.
Yeah.
Bob probably does as well. Just hasn't got it tested yet.
Okay.
What do you, John?
they say do a high fiber diet. Stay away from fats by all means. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And the high protein makes sense because it's a bit like a blocked drain. So you need stuff to clear the fat in the liver to be able to then process things, right? So is there any certain veg that are higher calorie than others, or?
Yeah,
because they say eat a lot of veg as well, but just
for
not
sure. So
stuff.
with vegetables, I would prioritize your greens. So the likes of broccoli is a great one. Broccoli, green beans, asparagus, kale, spinach. But to be honest, all veg is good. You want to get, when it comes to vegetables and fruit for that matter, we have this saying to clients, you want to try eat the rainbow. So you want to get as many different colors as possible because you're getting loads of different vitamins and minerals corresponding to each of the colors in the fresh produce that you consume. But in terms of are there vegetables that are higher in the calories? Yeah, sure. Like carrots would be one of them. Sweet corn would also be one of them. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, unless you have a specific intolerance to specific veg. Like I know some people, there are FODMAPs. which are specific foods that can cause gastrointestinal, just GI distress that some people should avoid. But unless you've been specifically told by a healthcare, like a doctor, to avoid a specific food, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Yeah. So that's really the three things, man. When you're thinking food choices in terms of your meals, high on the lean protein, low on the fat, and just loads of vegetables. And you can, and within this as well, like you can still have your carbs. You can still have your bit of bread. You can still have your bit of potatoes, bit of pasta, bit of rice. It's totally fine. But prioritize.
When you say a bit of, like,
yeah,
are we talking 3 palms again, or
okay, no. So with the veg, I'm gonna say 1 to 2 fists of veg at each meal. 1 to 2 fists. Yeah, at least 1 to 2. Yeah. Okay. And then with carbs, what I would say for you lads, if you want to prioritize like losing body fat, I would say probably about a fist of carbs at each meal. And those are just some kind of standard 1 to 2. You could definitely do 1 to 2 fists of carbs at each meal. But if you're also kind of having snack stuff throughout the day, you want to save some of those carbs for the snack stuff. So I typically recommend, just having your 1 fist or 1.5 or something like that of carbs at each meal. Yeah.
And you talk about meals. What meals are we talking? Because I've had advice before where it's like 6 small meals or 3 meals.
Okay. Yeah. It would be better to kind of track back and really think about it in terms of calories and overall like macronutrient targets. That would be the best way to kind of go about it. And then between that, you can kind of say, okay, if my target is, 2000 calories, I can split that up into like, when it comes to meals, it just comes down to personal preference. So if 3 meals a day works for you, stick to 3 meals a day. If 6 meals a day works for you, which for most people probably doesn't, go with 6 meals. If it's 2 meals a day, go for 2 meals. But for most people, I think 2 to 3 meals a day probably makes the most sense. Yeah. And by the way, for anybody listening and for you lads, these are like general guidelines. These are just kind of general guidelines, rules of thumb, just an easy way to kind of get going and start to think about things. You can get more specific, obviously, like at an individual level with calculating like specific calorie amounts, how much protein, and then based on that, you can structure your not necessarily need to track the calories, but based on your actual calorie and macronutrient requirements, then you can actually get more specific with how then you structure your nutrition. But for now, I just wanted to give you guys some really simple stuff to get you going.
So all of what you said makes sense to me, right? Like get some lean protein in, minimize the fat intake, and just fill yourself up with veg.
Yeah.
So if I was working from home every day, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'd buy the right foods, make some lunches.
Yeah.
Like grand. The issue that I have is around, like I should prep more, right? If I could get myself into a place where I'm going to prep more, obviously I could then prep those same types of meals that you're mentioning. The reality is that I'm not very good at that. And there's definitely going to be times where even if I start to get better, there's going to be ways I slip up. So if you were working in the city, if you were traveling in and you had an office space off and you have whatever shops you have around, where do you go other than going to the supermarket and then making meals in the kitchenette?
Yeah.
Is there some advice you can give on the move?
Preferred supplies list?
Yeah. Well, so I'd say 2 things. So number 1, I would say first I would look at like what kind of fast food, what kind of food places have you got in your in the area surrounding your place of work. So you mentioned Pret. Is that true? Or what kind of stuff would you have in this?
36 yards in the city. So you've got every type of coffee shop you can imagine. Places like Leon, Coco de Mama, Greg's, Wasabi, Itsu, like all those places are every 5 yards. Chipotle.
Okay, Chipotle. Let's go with Chipotle. So let's go with Chipotle, right? You got a Chipotle, yeah? Are you a fan of Chipotle?
Sure.
Chipotle can actually be a pretty good option. I actually recommend. We don't have Chipotle over here, but we have Boujum, which is another Mexican place. So burrito bowls, when you order the right stuff, like can be really good in terms of calories and protein. And so if we actually just think Chipotle, right? You pull up and they're like, okay, what rice do you want? You tell them, give me a 1 fist of rice. Make sure it's a fist. Then you'd go for what you based on what I've said now, what would you go for next?
Well, I guess chicken. You're gonna give you chicken breast, right?
Yeah, and you're like, give me 2 fists, man. I need the protein.
And then they'll put the beans and stuff in it, but then they're not
Beans.
gonna let. Then the sauces. Do you just go right? Don't give me any sauce in it.
So specifically, the salsas are all fine. The salsas are super low cal, so you
Right.
can go with the salsa. Corn salsa, tomato salsa. Most of them are. It's literally just there isn't any oil or anything in them. It's the
Right.
sour cream and the cheese that tends to be higher in calories. So what you could do is ask them to give you the sour cream on the side, and you can add a little bit on yourself if you wanted to save the calories. But that's a really solid option right there, because it's literally a conveyor belt, and based on like the kind of the lean protein, the low fat, and the veggies that I just kind of said there, you can literally tell them specifically how much you want. And if you really wanted it as well, you could get that for lunch, and you could grab one on the way home for dinner as well if you wanted to. But that's an example of a pretty good, good option. The other option that I would say is, if you can find a fast food place where you could be very selective about like what you order, like I kind of described there, like a deli or something like that, that's also a good place to go.
Or like Farmer J's is pretty good for that.
Yeah, and you can even if you're putting together a sambo, you can ask them, give me a float of protein, loads of veg, and then like give me like a low cal sauce, like I don't know, like fucking honey mustard or something like that, or like some sweet chili, or like even like a bit of light mayo if they have it. I don't know. But a place where you can order yourself, that can be really helpful. Now, there are a lot of ready-made meals that you can get nowadays. There's a lot of popular kind of fit food brands that have started to create ready-made meals that are relatively high in protein and low in calories, that are good options. So in Ireland, there's a couple of popular brands like Dublin Meat Co., Pure Power, Gourmet Fuel. I know that Muscle Food in the UK is a big brand, and you can pick them up in certain supermarkets, but you can also, as far as I'm aware, order them online as well. So that's also a good option to have. What I usually recommend to clients is to grab a couple of ready-made meals and just keep them in the fridge for that situation where you get home late after a long day. You're not arsed getting the pots and pans out. You can just chuck it into the microwave, 4 minutes, and it's good to go. Now, the only thing I would say about those meals though is that the portion of protein and veg tends to sometimes be small, so they're sometimes not that filling. So what you might have to do is add a little bit of extra veg or something like that, or maybe double up as well if you can spare the calories. So those would be some options in terms of convenience. So does that answer your question, Rob?
Yeah, it's just, there's like, if I leave, say I leave work at 8 o'clock, which is 2 times a week, is fairly popular in terms of, or fairly regular in terms of the time I leave. Places where you can go to a conveyor belt in Liverpool Street Station and pick what you want is limited. So I'm thinking it's like a sandwich shop. I can literally see there's like 3-4 pasty shops, then there's a Greg's, a Wasabi. Like, it's just, and obviously, shop elsewhere. But in terms of convenience to me, in the daytime lunches, that's easier because there's also an M&S opposite. And there's a Farmer Dave's around the corner, so you can kind of do that there. But I think maybe it's the evening meal.
I think the ready-made fit food meals, every time I've tried them places, the small portions turn up, but they are mentally small. Like, they're trying to be under 500 calories. I can eat probably 3,000 calories in a day at this weight and still lose weight. So and them spending 50 quid a day on microwavable meals, just not. I just feel they're a bit of a rip-off.
They're not great because obviously it's a standardized portion, and so it doesn't factor in like people that are on the taller and the bigger side that need more calories overall. And so that's why I was saying it can kind of not be great. There is one particular solution if you really wanted to just completely solve the nutrition puzzle altogether, but to get a full-blown meal delivery service. And so what this involves is you put in your stats, and then you tell it how many calories you want, how much protein, how much carbs, how much fat, and then it gives you breakfast, lunch, and dinner according to those stats. And then you just get it delivered to your house on a Monday morning, and then you have it for the entire week. Now, the pros of that is that it's just your entire nutrition sorted. Like, you don't need to do anything. It's relatively affordable, especially if you compare it to if you buy a lot of your meals out anyway. It actually works out either the same or, in fact, sometimes cheaper than eating out every day. And the food actually most of the time tastes actually pretty good. Now, the only problem that I would say with that is that, well, this is both a pro and a con, depending on what way you look at it, is that when you have all your 5 meals for Monday to Friday delivered, you're boxed into eating those 5 meals, right? Now, that could be a good thing because it discourages you from eating out and you actually stick to the plan. Or you eat out anyway, like in the evening time, and now that meal then goes to waste. Or worse, you eat the meal out, then you go home and still eat the meal there, and then you go significantly over on calories. So that is a good solution for some people. Usually I recommend that to clients that are like literally flat out, like they're literally like directors, they're like doing 12-hour days, they're working, cross-continental teams, and so they're on calls at like 9 o'clock at night, and like they've literally got no time. I'm like, listen, this is the only reasonable solution you can do, and it works pretty well so long as you actually follow it. And it takes some playing around with like meals and like what you actually like.
Are there any companies that you'd recommend for that? Like any companies that you think where you can put your actual calories and how much protein you want, rather than just going, I'll pick an amount of ready meal.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with UK brands.
Yeah, because I've heard about those before, but it'll be different if you can say, I want X amount of protein in that meal, and then you can get it made to what you want, rather than, like Ian said, you just get these healthy ready meals, but then you need 2 of them, or you need 1.5, and you can't microwave 1.5 or whatever.
You also look like the fattest bloke in the office when you're microwaving 2 meals at the same time. Actually, I'm allowed this many because of my calories. It's just like that conversation is.
I'm getting ripped eating 2 sandwiches, and it's only 700 calories, and it's like that's quite a low calorie lunch for people. Like, why do you need 2 sandwiches?
Johnny, you also did the calorie where you only ate bread. Like that was one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
That was more a money saving thing. I was skinny.
Yeah. He honestly used to come to the office with a loaf of bread and go, well, 70p and I'll get my calories for the day.
So my hungover low calorie meal is like 20 fish fingers.
Low calorie.
Yeah, well, lowish hangover. 10 for breakfast, 10 for lunch.
Nice. They're not bad if you stick to the 10.
They're not that bad. They're like I think they're like 50 calories each. So.
Oh really? That's
they're really low, 60 maybe.
Well, somewhat good, I'd say. Yeah. So listen, lads, what I want to do, so we kind of touched on like food options there. What I want to do is actually circle back to what we were chatting about. The reason why fat loss is difficult isn't because people don't know what to eat. People more or less know what to eat, right? More or less. There's a little bit of learning that you need to do in terms of what's good food choices, but mostly it comes down to actually making those decisions, right? And it's usually our emotions or our environment or these triggers that drive us to eat, overeat, eat too many calories, etc. And so to go back to what we were saying earlier on, you're kind of saying that stress, tiredness, those are the kind of 2 things that pop up that then lead to the overeating. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, I mean, we all work long hours, right? This recruitment game is heavy on the hours. We're in the office crack of dawn, we're leaving at silly o'clock, getting home way past the times you should be even eating dinner on a couple of days a week. So yeah, like it's all of that plays into lots of excuses, of course, and it's the reason why we're all on this podcast, because we've all got lots of fun excuses. But you've got to make your situation work at the moment. I know for me especially,
100%.
I definitely haven't found a solution to the situation on it.
I think it's also being like the stuff you're saying makes complete sense, but there can be a period where I'm not even present while I'm putting stuff in my mouth.
Unconscious eating,
because I'm just like,
so
my brain is thinking about something else. My missus calls me Nunu from Teletubbies. I'm sitting there thinking about something else, just piling stuff into my mouth, which then sounds like the
yeah.
That's definitely a problem.
And so there's a couple of different tools that I use with clients, right? One thing overall, if stress and tiredness, it sounds like a high stress job, a lot of hours, very busy. The first thing, and probably one of the more important things that I would prioritize, is rest. So if you are more stressed, if you are more tired, I mean, the reason why you're going to the food is because your body's trying to recuperate, it's trying to rejuvenate, and it's just doing this through the easiest way it knows how, which is food that's easily available around you. And so throughout your days, like, do you guys get much time? Like, what is a typical work day? Are you kind of back to back all day? Do you get a little bit of a breather in between calls and meetings?
Yeah.
How does it kind of look?
I've been with clients since 8 o'clock this morning, and I finished about 10 minutes before this meeting. Back to back, no breaks. I haven't even had a chance to go to the toilet today. It's been that busy. This is a bit of a freak, but usually it's that busy.
Okay.
Yeah, my days are similar, and go into I've got another meeting tonight. Like, it just it's full on. Like the thing you said earlier hit home with me when you were like, I generally say to do the meal, having all of your meals sent to you for people that are directors, have a busy diary, generally back to back. Like, it's literally the position that we're in.
Yeah.
And I'll have meetings with the US at night, so like, it's not like I fit in dinner where I can around those meetings. It's just maybe the food order delivery just takes out of my having to think about it, because if I think about it, then I don't. I just go to the nearest thing.
I'll say super busy as well, in case my manager's listening.
So on the food prep side of things, the meal delivery for sure. Now, based on what you guys have said about just kind of being back to back all day, had clients like that before in the past, and like trying to solve the food choices part of the equation is kind of like pissing against the wind if you've got like a overloaded work schedule where you're just not getting much rest and not getting much breaks. It's kind of like trying to fill a bathtub, but there's a hole in it. You know, you're just you keep filling it, but you're leaking water out of it. So, is there scope within your day to just get a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing room? 5 minutes here and there every hour, 5-10 minutes to just step away from the computer, maybe get some fresh air, walk around the office a little bit, maybe get outside. And to do that a couple of times throughout the day. Is there scope to do that?
I think you just got to make it, haven't you? Like, the answer at the moment is going to be no, but like, I don't always want to be this wait inside. So then you have to try and be creative with how that is. Can you do a meeting on the move? Can you do a meeting where
that's actually I like that. Yeah, like
that type of stuff.
What were you going to say,
is there
Ian?
a moment? The moments are probably there, but I'm constantly thinking about something else other than. Do you know what I mean? It's more than. It's the mental side of it.
Okay.
I noticed my breaks is spent thinking about the next move I've got to make, or the next thing that's got to happen, and the brain's just too full for presentness. Is the bit.
I actually have a solution to this. It's a super simple practice. Would you say you have 60 seconds here and there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I call this my 60-second reset, or my 60-second recharge. And so what I usually use this with clients like yourselves who are just kind of back to back. Their day is 30-minute blocks back to back all day long. And what the 60-second reset is anytime you implement the 60-second reset during the transitions in your day. So what I mean by a transition is when you're transitioning from one task to another. So you've just got off a call, that's a transition. You're in between meetings, that's a transition. You're going from work to home, that's a transition. So using the transitions of your day to do this 60-second reset. And all you're going to do is you're going to stop whatever you're doing, phone away, everything. And if you want, you can close your eyes. You don't have to, but it helps. And you're just going to take, literally for that 60 seconds, you're just going to take a couple of deep breaths, and you're just going to pay attention to your body for the 60 seconds. And whatever thoughts come up, let them come up, and then just keep breathing. Now, it doesn't have to be 60 seconds. It can be longer if you want, but starting out with 60 seconds is really good. And what that lets you do is it de-stresses a little bit. It slows down the mind. It relaxes the body. It recharges a little bit of energy and gives you a little bit of a boost going into the next thing. So that's what I would do if I was really, really pressed for time and I literally didn't have time to take any breaks and I could only do one thing. I'd do that 60-second reset. Does that seem like something you'd actually feel like trying, or does it seem like a kind of like that seems a bit weird?
Yeah, no, I'd give it a go. But what are you thinking in that 60 seconds?
Nothing.
What's for dinner?
Okay. Just breathing. If thoughts come up, they come up. That's fine. But it's just about hitting pause. Imagine it's like you're playing. I don't know. Do you guys play like Call of Duty or something like that growing up? You're playing a game and you're just pressing pause. Basically, you're literally just pressing the pause button for 60 seconds. So you think about, you go through your day, it's go, 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 go. You're constantly moving. So this is just about literally pressing pause for 60 seconds. And then
I just think in the middle of a frantic day, if I press pause, my mind won't pause.
thoughts are going to pop up. That's what's going to happen. And what the 60 seconds allows it to do is it kind of allows the dust to settle a little bit.
How does exercise fit into all this? Because we spoke a lot about trying to pick make the right food choices, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then so you make the right food choices, you have a certain amount of calories.
Yeah.
If you're then gonna exercise, or if you're gonna fit in an exercise regime in that, how do you I guess in terms of what you do, what you offer for your clients, do you offer programs where if you're exercising 3 times a week, you do X. If you're doing more like how should we change the meals, the calories, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
If you're going to increase your...
Yeah. So when it comes to fat loss, it almost entirely comes down to nutrition and to controlling calories, because you can go on a run for 10 minutes and maybe burn 100 calories, and then you come home and you can eat that 100 calories in like 10 seconds. So fat loss is predominantly going to come from nutrition and making good choices and staying within those calorie targets. Now, exercise is still super, super fucking useful for overall health, for energy, for mental health, for mood, for stress relief. And that kind of ties in with the sort of emotional eating, stress eating that we're talking about. Physical activity can be a great remedy for that because it's an outlet for stress. And actually, exercise has been shown to actually improve eating habits, because you're exercising regularly. You tend to want to eat better as well, because people kind of have this mindset of, I'm exercising, I kind of don't want that to go to waste, so I'm going to eat better. So exercise is great. What exercise to prioritize? What I always recommend to clients, if you had a gun to because it's always the debate, is cardio better for fat loss or is it resistance training, right? Cardio being like running, jogging, cycling, swimming, that gets your heart rate up over an extended period of time. And then resistance training is like lifting weights, either actual weights or your body weight or whatever it is. So if you had a gun to my head and I had to pick one, and you either cardio or resistance training, I would pick resistance training every single day of the week. And the reason for that is cardio burns calories, and it also improves cardiovascular health, your heart and your lung health, and it's really good for health. But resistance training builds muscle, and that's really what you want to prioritize, because the more muscle that you have, the higher your metabolism and the more calories that your body burns. And what tends to happen when people lose body fat is they actually lose muscle as well. And so by resistance training, you preserve and even build muscle, and that keeps the metabolism high, and it's easier to lose body fat over the long term and also maintain it. But also, most people don't just want to lose weight. They want to look good, right? You don't just want to lose weight for the sake of it. You want the finished product to be a decent looking body, right? And it's building muscle that really creates the look that people want. And that's why I would prioritize that. And so if I was to prioritize one thing, I would prioritize resistance training. If you did want to do some cardio, I would get your cardio from like brisk walking and maybe cycling or something like that. Just get your cardio from your overall activity throughout your day to day. Now, if you want to do extra cardio on top of that, that's fine, but you don't necessarily need to. Now, the question is probably, okay, how do you actually structure that? Like, how many days a week, how many hours a day, like what exercise am I doing, et cetera, et cetera. That really depends on the person. I have some clients that are training 3 times a week for 15 minutes. I've got other clients that are training, 4 or 5 times a week for an hour. So it really just depends on the individual, like what their skill level is. Are they beginner, intermediate, are they advanced, and how much time that they actually have on a week-to-week basis to actually dedicate to training. So it's completely 100% individualized. Now, if you wanted some general guidelines, I could certainly give those.
What's the 15-minute guy doing working wise? Lifting weights?
No, so he's just doing body weight exercises. Yeah.
What damage is he doing in 15 minutes? Like, what can you burn?
So not about burning, about building.
Fine. What's he building in 15 minutes?
Building more than he would be if he wasn't doing anything. And that's that's the key thing. Now, he's starting at 15 minutes and gradually we're going to work him up to more. But the mistake that people make with exercise is that they want to go balls to the walls straight away. You know, you think that, okay, if I'm not in the gym for an hour 3 times a week, I might as well not do anything. When in reality, the first priority with training isn't about training hard. It's about building the habit of training. And the easiest way to build the habit of training is to start with something that's really low investment. He actually started with 3 10-minute sessions for the first week or two. And then we made it 15. Then we're going to make it 20.
It just
25,
doesn't feel
30.
like it. Doesn't feel like it's worth getting changed for that. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I was
I
thinking.
get,
Take longer.
I get the habit is the key thing, not the actual session though.
It's about getting the habit in place first. And because the harder an action is to do, the less likely that you are going to do it. So we want to make that action as easy as possible so you can do it consistently. And once you do it consistently, then we can make the training harder. And then that's what.
And also, like, if you change and then you're in somewhere, you're 10 minutes in, like
you're probably going to do more.
You might end up doing half an hour because you're
exactly.
like,
preaching to the choir, Bobby.
10 minutes.
Yeah, that's bang on. That's exactly it. Yeah. So there is a great book that I really recommend everybody read, or if you can find a summary of it online or any talks. But the book, some of you probably heard about it, Atomic Habits.
I've seen it's on Masterclass at the minute. That's what I was talking about. This inspiration stuff is all from that. Yeah. Inspiration system goals. Yeah.
So what James Clear does in that book is really break down and give people a framework, a formula, a step-by-step process for building habits. There's 4 laws in the book. I won't get into them now, but one of them is to make the action as easy as possible. And that's why, in it, he actually talks about doing stuff that's even smaller, starting with doing like 2 push-ups a day, just 2 push-ups. Like that's it. You start off your training doing 2 push-ups and then you gradually build it into a full-blown training routine, which sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous, like 2 push-ups a day. But what I always say to people is you want to make your habits so easy starting out that you'd be embarrassed if you couldn't do them. That's how easy they should be starting out. And then you gradually increase it over time. That's the key. So this is the big mistake people make. They start here and then they end up down here. Whereas you want to start here and then end up here. That's the difference. And that's what leads to lasting change. Sorry, was there any specifics that you wanted to add in there in terms of the actual training? Like in terms of exercise selection, to be honest, you do want to pick the right exercises, structure it in the right way. But to be honest, that's not the most difficult part. The most difficult part is actually doing it.
And we've all had PTs, and I'm sure we could all spasm out a way to move different body parts, and it's more the consistency.
The priority is to be doing something and to be doing it consistently, whatever that something is. Yeah.
You could even do 15 minutes in the office, couldn't you, as a habit?
100%, man.
For the benefit of the listeners, like how do they what's your gig now? What do you do? How can listeners see more of you, hear more of you, get in contact, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we post content across pretty much every social media channel, but predominantly, if Busy Professionals is the audience, predominantly on LinkedIn, and then also Instagram would be our 2 main channels. So that's just Alex Plamadeala, my name. Probably the only person that's going to pop up, so it shouldn't be too hard to find once you can get the spelling.
How you spelling your surname for the benefit of
Plamadeala. But if you put in Alex Plam, it should pop up most of the time. Yeah, like I said, we work with busy professional men specifically. And we help them, achieve lasting change in their health and fitness, specifically losing weight, keeping it off.
And is that by nutrition plans? Is that by doing PT sessions? Like, is that
it's fully online. So it's very unlike the traditional approach to health and fitness. It's not just nutrition. It's not just training. It's a holistic and comprehensive approach to health overall. So it takes into consideration people's history, their lifestyle, their psychology, their work, and a variety of different factors, sleep, nutrition, training, physical activity, all of those things, and helps people build not just the habits, but the skills that they need to lose weight, to make good, to eat well, to train, the skills to take care of their care of their health, that won't just serve them over the short term. Everybody wants to lose weight, be fit and healthy. Yeah. But I'm really thinking long term. Like, we help people build the skills that will serve them for the next 40, 60 years. That's what we're all about. And that's
with your clients, what would they buy from you? Is it buy an amount of like coach and mentor type sessions, or you buy a commitment of how long you're in contact for? Or do you buy a program from you? Like, what's the
so we have a coaching program, and it's, like I said, it's a personalized coaching program where we work one-to-one in a very intimate setting to really understand all of the client's needs, and then carefully chart, a step-by-step roadmap to get them to their goals. And that specifically is I've never had two clients that have had the same trajectory, not even a little bit. Humans are so unique. Even within busy professionals, I thought, busy professionals, they're going to be very similar, but no, like, people are so individual and so unique that you need to have a very intimate relationship, and really coaching people, as opposed to what typical health and fitness coaching is. And I'm putting that in inverted commas. It's not coaching. It's handing out people nutrition and training programs, which isn't coaching. I mean, you could ask ChatGPT to give you a personalized nutrition and training program. But that's not what people need. People need coaching. They need people to help them and guide them along the journey, hold them accountable, work through challenges, ask them questions, explore, understand, get clarity, and all of these things. And it's not something that traditionally happens in a typical, PT setting, or in a typical, like, even nutritionists. And that's not to talk down on those professions, because they're absolutely fantastic professions and they have their purposes. But for people who struggle and have challenges around achieving sustainable weight loss, and I've had a couple of goes at it of losing weight, gaining it back, you really need a more comprehensive and holistic approach that really focuses on lasting results, rather than just throwing training programs and nutrition plans at people. And so that's what we do.
That makes a lot of sense.
And listen, lads, I don't know about you two, but we do these transformation sessions where it's kind of similar to what we did here today. But what we do with clients who are either thinking of joining up, we do this transformation session where it's kind of similar to what we did here on the call today, but we really understand a person's background, history, where they're currently at, help them really clarify their goals and get crystal clear on where they want to get to, understand. And then really the key part is understand what the specific challenges are. And then based on that, we outline what, an overview of the strategy for actually approaching and tackling those goals are. And so if anybody's listening and would like that, just reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever you find me. And if you lads are also curious about that, hit me up either after this or whenever, and we could definitely get you booked in either tomorrow or early. I'm kind of full tomorrow, but maybe early next week.
Would you have like a little 15-minute chat with the people throughout the week to see how they're getting on, that sort of stuff, to keep them on track via Teams, Zoom, whatever?
In terms of the coaching, yeah. So the kind of bulk of the coaching is a 20 to 30 minute call every single week. So what basically happens, I'll give you an overview of what we do. Either of you lads jumped on board, we'd get you onboarded. So you go through this really comprehensive questionnaire that really just gets loads and loads of information about you guys to really understand you in almost too much detail. And then based on that, we kind of say, and one thing I want to point out about what we do, we believe in client-centered coaching as opposed to coach-centered coaching. So we do things a bit differently in the sense that every single week, I don't necessarily tell you what to do. I more so kind of ask, okay, Ian, what do you want to do this week? I can give you some ideas, but I'd like to hear, like, what do you want to do? What are you able to do? What's realistic for this week? And then you'll say, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to improve my breakfast, and we just focus on that one action. We only ever focus on 1 to 2 actions every single week, really, really small weekly actions. And then you go off and you implement that action across the week. At the end of the week, you check in, we see how it went. If it went really well, that's fantastic. We keep doing more of that. If it didn't go so well, we figure out why, and then we come up with a new strategy, and then we try that again. And then we rinse and repeat that process every single week. But the key thing is that every single week, the client is never committing to something that they themselves didn't choose. Like, the client is choosing what they're committing to. I'm never telling the client what to do. I'm suggesting, I'm guiding, I'm supporting, but it's completely client-led. Like, the client decides what they want to do, how they want to do it, and then it's the coach's job to just support them in doing that. And then, yeah, the weekly call for accountability, and then working through the process.
So everyone catches you on LinkedIn, yeah?
Yeah, LinkedIn, yeah. It's probably the best spot, yeah.
Good man. Alex, I think this has been super helpful.
Sweet.
Yeah, it really has.
It's definitely got me thinking. And you hear this kind of advice in various different forms from various different places, and it's all stuff that I think we know, but I think it's always quite refreshing. I love the thought of having someone regularly keeping you on track, because it's just that reset. That's what this pod's meant to be. But sometimes we get on here and talk about how much confectionery we've eaten.
Yeah.
Too often. Doing something that's the habit forming, I think, for me is the biggest thing I've taken. Is even like, because we've said it so many times, you know, especially last season of this year, is, you know, we're all or nothing. So I kind of, at the moment, I know I'm telling myself at the moment that when I've got a good role with my weight loss last time, it was during COVID. I was working from home, and I was doing, you know, I was finishing work at 6 o'clock every day.
Yeah.
So I was working out, and when we come up, you know, when we was kind of partly out of COVID, you can go to the gym and you could sit in a pub garden with 6 people. You know, that kind of period where life felt like it was a bit more normal, but really it wasn't. I would go to the gym at lunch, and I'd go to the gym after work, and I was, you know, at one point in my PT, I was seeing him a few times a week, but exercising maybe even 9-10 times a week.
Wow. And
I lost a fair few stone in you know, maybe 6 to 8 months, and I felt good about that. And then pretty much what happened from that point on is the pubs opened after COVID, and then I put it all back on again, and here we are now. But now I'm telling myself that I can't commit that much time. I don't have I'm in a different job now, and I don't have the time, and, you know, life really is back, and I've now got a child and all those fun things. So I just don't have the time to exercise that much.
Yeah. So
I'm almost defeated before I've even started, or I'm getting frustrated that I don't have time to even give half those amount of sessions a week.
Yeah.
So I'm just not doing anything. Whereas if I go, right, like you say, just do 2 push-ups. You're not going to do 2. By the time I'm down on the floor, I'll probably I couldn't do any at the minute. But in terms of the habit forming, like you say, if you're going to go do 3 10-minute sessions, by the time I'm doing 10 minutes, I'm not going to stop, or unlikely to.
Yeah.
That my block at the moment is the belief of anything I'm doing is going to be worth it. Because I can't go full hog at it, so I'm just not starting.
Yeah, no, that the all or nothing mindset is something that it's a natural human instinct to think in black and white. But like I say to people, something is always better than nothing, and it gets you going. Yeah.
It's a big roadblock for me at the minute.
100%. What do you think about jumping on a transformation session and chatting and seeing if there's anything we can do for you? You know, at best, look, if we end up working together, like that's great. And if not, I can hook you up with resources, point you in the right direction, all that kind of stuff, and kind of give you a good push in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm keen.
Yep.
Sure, Bob is.
Yeah, for sure. Anything.
Obviously separately, by the way.
There's also a competition element to this, because it's whoever can get down to that 50 kg quickest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Running a marathon was my plan, which is all that all or nothing stuff, which hasn't worked in the long term. So I'm up for building the building blocks.
Yeah. Well, listen, we can talk about it.
I appreciate your time, Alex. It's been really interesting to chat with you. Thanks for coming on the pod. And we'll be in touch for sure. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys having me on, and best of luck. And listen, hopefully we chat next week or at some stage.
For sure.
Thanks, Alex.
Cheers, Alex.
That, mate.
Take care, lads. Bye-bye.
We've got some diet plans, health scans, sugar bans, fitness fans, PTs, injuries, laying off the Chinese, ball games, gym chains, protein gains and skin tight tops, and we ain't gonna stop until we hit the 50k. Drop, 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 drop. No excess fat, no FAT, no curry bag, no guarantee. Rough or buff, lean on me. We lived our best fit as a bit.